Welcome, everyone. Welcome. This is the third week of quantum coaching. This is the third week of post-event coaching. So we have multiple cities in the house and also several cities joining us very soon. And so for those of you who haven't been in the events just lately, in terms of Cairns and Melbourne, this will be a recording, which means that it's not going to be live, which means that you will get results, you will get feedback, you will get coaching, you will get your questions answered in the questions below in the thread in the Facebook group. Now, everyone on the call, welcome, good to see you, even though it's recorded. Give me a wave. Lots of love. Good to see you all. Okay, we're a smaller group today, so that's okay. We're gonna have a chance to answer 2 questions that I've received, and those questions are really congruent to the topic today. The topic today is really how to create a life by design, not a life by default. And that life by design is truly an opportunity for us to walk the path. That's the bottom line. You know, you've been to Quantum Living Advanced, you've ascended your awareness from the lower 3 survival centers all the way up into the soul, the state of unconditional love. You've had the experiences, you've busted open those blockages. And as I say, neurons that fire together, they wire together. If we do 2 Quantum Living Advanced seminars, 2-day events each year, that is 4 days out of 365 days. That is 1.09%. So if we attend Quantum Living Advanced twice per year, that is 1% personal development per year. And as I say, that 1% puts you in the 1% of actually living a life on your terms and truly living in the heart instead of in the head. Today's coaching, I think, is one of the most important parts, one of the most absolute important practices. Because as I always say, we can talk about, eating well and meditating and going quantum and living from the heart as much as we want. If we don't practice it, then what's going to happen? Nothing, right? It's a waste of time. It's a feel-good experience. We have a good conversation, but nothing really sustainable comes from that. So today is a very powerful opportunity for us to talk about how we can implement the practices of the quantum living lifestyle into your life, into the life of everyone watching. Now, for me, I think that's one of the most important practices because, as Aristotle said, excellence is simply a whole bunch of habits repeated over a long period of time. So if we are to understand that we are, in fact, our life is a result of the way we live our lives and the practices that we have, then I think it's really important to come to terms with the fact that we can create a life by design, not a life by default. It's really interesting because when you look at most people, they don't have a life structured by their own highest value. They don't really have a consciously created weekly calendar, monthly goals, quarterly goals, yearly goals, and opportunities to know their stepping stones to greatness. We just ad hoc our lives so many times. So what I do is this. Here's the template. You might want to take a note on this. So if you're just joining in, welcome. If you don't have your calendar ready, I would suggest that you go and get your calendar, either your Google Calendar or your iCalendar, your Apple Calendar.
For Mummy?
Just making sure everyone's on mute. Thank you so much. So what's going to happen is that we are going to go through and create a life by design or a life by default. So get your calendars out. If you do use an actual paper calendar, you're just as welcome to use that, no problem at all. And the important thing is that we do ourselves first. Now just say with me, I do me first. Go ahead. Okay, we're going to do that one more time. Everyone say, I do me first. 1, 2, 3. I do me first. That's exactly right. Now, the reason why I tell you to repeat this is that neurons that fire together, they work together, and I want you to make sure that you actually are speaking out what it is you're dedicated to doing for yourself for the rest of your life. So here's the key. If we are a soul and a spirit, and we know that that is who we are, and at least in the quantum living lifestyle and in the quantum living practices, we truly do believe that we are way more than just a physical self. I spent time with my son on the beach today, and he fell asleep in my arms, and I can tell you there's no way that that's just physical. There is something so meaningful, something so beautiful, something so powerful in the presence of holding someone that you truly, truly love so much. And, when we look at life, as Einstein said, there's 2 ways to live our lives. One is that nothing's a miracle, and 2 is that everything is a miracle. And whatever we believe, we will achieve, because all of our cells, the subconscious mind, and of course, the quantum field is listening. All of these three, the body, the physiology, the subconscious mind, and also the field of divine intelligence is giving us back exactly those signals we send out. So when I'm cultivating tremendous heartfelt love and gratitude for my time and my opportunity to spend with my son, I know exactly what I'm going to get back. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about creating a calendar and finally being able to design a life by our own creation instead of living a life ad hocing, because it truly is then asking the greater question, who am I really? And what do I really want to do in this lifetime? For me, I really take it to the nth degree of saying, asking myself the question, what did my soul come here to do? So ask yourself that question now. What did my soul really come into this body to do? Is it to love more, to learn more, to live more, to let go more, to learn a lesson and let go of whatever no longer serves me? Think about what it is that, and there might be several, of course, but for me, I know that I am a teacher, healer, loving father, and soulpreneur. That's basically the bottom line. I'm a teacher, healer, loving father, and soulpreneur. And of course, there's more aspects to it. I'm a friend. I'm a brother to you as well. But really, the bottom line is my soul came here to research, write, travel, and speak, and to help this planet ascend. And so, for you, what does that really mean? And if you don't contemplate or haven't contemplated that question, now I know we've touched on it in quantum living because we do really understand the power of the limitless power of the soul, and so we've touched base on that. But it's a very important question to ask ourselves, because if we do, we end up living lives of quite desperation, as Henry David Thoreau used to say, because we haven't created the habits and the patterns that lead to excellence, whatever excellence is for you. So here's the bottom line. You take your life from where you are now, and you go all the way out to the end of your life. And let me just say this. Most of us go around, you might want to take a note on this. Most of us walk this path thinking that we are immortal souls. But how many of us really set immortal goals? Take that in for a minute. We walk this path thinking that we're immortal souls. But how many of us really set immortal goals? I should write that down. That's a good quote. Quote Dr. E. So if you think about that, isn't that interesting? Because then we set goals for next week or next month, or maybe we want to go on a holiday in a year. But when you really learn, remember the story of Giordano Bruno? I told the story of the incredible Italian philosopher that got burnt alive in front of hundreds of people for teaching something that didn't match the geocentric Ptolemaic Christian religious constructs. At the time, he didn't subordinate. Before he was to die, he wrote a 500-year, post-human's biography of how he wanted to be remembered, what he wanted to leave behind. And when I heard that, I started writing a 500-year post-human's biography. And it really comes down to, for me, just as an example, to give you an opportunity to see how you might create something similar in your life, is simply leaving the Dr. Espen method behind of the first guy and the first system and the first blueprint to connect those chakra energy centers to the different areas of life, to bridge the gap between science and spirituality, and give people tangible practices to ascend their awareness and come home to love. That's what I want to leave behind. And so for you then, if you think about it, since we go around thinking that we're immortal souls, why don't we set immortal goals? And as I always say, it doesn't really take any more energy thinking big compared to thinking small. In fact, when we do think small, our life very often fills up with procrastination, hesitation, frustration, desperation, and depression. Not because we are sick, but because the soul is limitless. And we're not setting limitless goals. The soul loves nothing but loves, unconditional love, nothing but thank you, I love you. So where is the tremendous amounts of heartfelt, never-ending, unconditional thank you, I love you in your life and in your goals? So I'd like to just bring that forth to your awareness for now, because in a minute when we start setting these goals, we're going to reverse engineer those goals back to what I call our weekly stepping stones to greatness. We're going to reverse those goals back into the steps, the thoughts, the patterns, the actions, the processes that are necessary as a blueprint in order for us to meet our soul at the end of our lives and be able to say, yes, I lived, I loved, I served my heart out to the fullest. Now, it's important to note, my dear friends, that sometimes having a huge goal is not right for you. Sometimes having a real simple goal, as I say, in simplicity lies freedom. Sometimes having a really simple goal is the best goal for you. And in fact, many people set these big goals, and as soon as they hit that goal and they tick the box, then they're right away too busy setting another set of goals, which means that they end up living in the future, worrying about the past, which means that since the present time conscious moment is the only truth, they haven't really lived at all. Ooh, good one. So I think the purpose for this in this conversation is not just to set goals that are aligned with our soul. I call them quantum goals or creating a quantum vision board, but also contemplating who we really are and what we really came here to do. So here's the bottom line. Life gets busy. Raise your hand if your life gets busy from time to time. All right? Everyone's life gets busy. Now, when people ask, have you been busy? How have you been? I just don't say I've been busy, because you can be tremendously busy and get nothing valuable done, but you can also be very productive and not be busy. So change the language around how you feel that you would like to respond to that whole busyness. Now, there's 168 hours in the week. How many hours? 168 hours. Thank you so much for responding. Then your brain feeds it back to your awareness and you'll remember it much better. So the 168 hours of the week, right? So how can we really, the question today is, how can we live a life by design, by our own soul's creation, and not a life by default, or we are ad hocing through life, and the byproduct of that ad hocing means that we run out of time because we haven't been conscious? Well, the bottom line is we just need to ask good questions, and the quality of our life is the quality of the most prominent questions that we ask. So the question is, who am I really? We've already asked that question today. What did I come here to do? What did my soul come here to do? We've already asked that question also today. And then the next question is, okay, well, what do I need to do each and every day in order for me to know where I'm going? Okay, because every single day you should have vision. Remember, third eye, 6 indigo, 6 when the third eye opens and we begin to see, and I mean really see, the way this universe actually works. Not as matter, but as magic. Not as separate, but the same. Not as missing, but whole. Not people as people, but as a soul. Then we fucking start to really recognize the power that we have within. And when we change the things we look at, the things we look at change. I heard another one from Einstein, and I just want to bring this to your attention. This is very, very, very powerful. I think I may have mentioned it last week, but I'd like you to really remember this unconsciously, competently, to the point where your third eye is open and you're observing things the way they really are. Here it is. When we begin, you might want to take a note on this. When we begin to see the invisible, we begin to achieve the impossible. And what is the invisible? Well, can we physically see love? No, of course we can't. Most of us can't see love, but we know we can measure the energy field of the heart with an ECG, an echocardiogram, to be 65 times stronger than the energy field of the brain when measured with an ECG from the Heart Math Institute. So we can measure it in certain ways, but we can't see it. Please raise your hand if you believe that love is real. Great. Okay, so love is real, we believe, and therefore we will achieve, but we can't see it. So when we begin to see the invisible, we begin to achieve the impossible. And that's why it really comes down to recognizing who we really are. Now, what's the invisible? Well, the invisible is the path laid before you of your soul's consciousness of what it came here to do. Let me say that one more time. The invisible is the path laid before you of your soul's quest in this life of what it came here to do. Now, this is really, really, really powerful, because now for the first time, not only, we're not looking to the past to blame or to understand, or to the future to try and see what might happen. We can actually extract soul consciousness down to a practice of walking this path as an awakened being. So let's do this. You guys ready? Give me a thumbs up. You ready to get started? I think we're warmed up. I think we're ready to go. So here it is. Like I said, Henry David Thoreau, one of my absolute favorite poets in the world, he wanted to discover what the universe was actually made of. He wanted to learn more about the human psyche and understand his mind. So what he did was, and if you read any of Thoreau's work, you'll see the incredible poet he was, incredible artist and philosopher that he was. He basically disappeared into the forest, lived in a tiny little shack, and just sat with his own mind for years. No people, just his own mind, to learn more about this thing called the human psyche. Now, the bottom line is that as a spirit or a soul, we've come into this life to achieve something, to do something, to become something, to be something. I'm not sure exactly what it is for you, but I know, and I've also been told that this is an opportunity for us to practice this. Think about this. The greatest regret of thousands of Australians, the greatest number one regret of thousands of people on their deathbed is, I wish I had the courage to take action and live a life true to me and not the life that other people expected of me. Now, see, that's why you got to live a life based on what your soul really wants, because nothing of the senses will ever satisfy the soul. We know that so many people can be unhappy, but have all the materialistic things in the world. But really what fills your cup is when your soul is singing in every moment. So let's create a life by design, not a life by default. So here it is. In Quantum Living Advanced, we talked a little bit about going to the very end of your life. And when we go to the very end of our lives and we ask the question, did I do everything I could with everything I had? Did I live? Did I love? Did I serve my heart out? I want you to contemplate what sort of things, what sort of practices you must implement in your life in order to be able to get to the end of your life and fully, wholeheartedly say yes. So let's go through the different areas of life for a minute. I'd like you to grab your pen and paper, and I'd like you to get really clear on what this conscious life by design, instead of an unconscious life by default, actually means to you. Let's get started with the area of life called physical health. What is it in the first chakra that is blocked by fear? What is it in terms of a practice that you will need to do in your life? Maybe daily, maybe every other day, maybe once a week, maybe 3 times a week. I don't know. But what practices of eating well? Let's start there. What practices of eating well must you have in your life in order for you to truly go quantum in the area of life called physical health, which is related to the first chakra? What do you need to do to eat well? I'm just feeling so cold to show you my fridge right now. My personal assistant is my best friend, because when I come home from teaching an event, this is my fridge. I don't know if you can see it. When I come home from traveling, and I travel basically full time now, look, this fridge is packed with organic, lean, green, and clean superfood for Superman. So I live a life by design by co-creating the exact processes I need for my body to vibrate at 100 and something percent. I was with my son today. If I flew in on the red eye from transforming 76 lives in Perth, I would not have had the time nor the opportunity to prepare the food that I need to really allow my cells to vibrate. I've got 4 liters of green smoothie in the fridge. I've probably got 2 liters left. I've given some to friends and I've drank a lot, and me and my son fell asleep on the beach drinking green smoothies. So think about it in terms of practicing nutrition. How can you practice being less underfed and more nourished? Think about these. What are the practices? Are you going to delegate your food? Are you going to get food delivered? Are you going to do food prep twice a week, 3 times a week? I don't know what it is. Are you going to go organic to stop feeding your children the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and all the crap that's on the food? Seriously, think about this. What practices do you need? in terms of nutrition. Please go to your assets in your emails. You can download the book called Superfood, Super Fit, Super You. I've written a book. I've also got 20 recipes. You can leverage all of this. What about the detox? Maybe it's doing the detox once every 3 months, once every 6 months. I don't know, but dedicate yourself to a practice. This will be your homework. Now, can I get a thumbs up if you're willing and committed to actually following through on some of these principles? Yes or no? All right, good. So that means that I'm going to get each and every one of you that gave me a thumbs up to pop into the Facebook group and literally write down the points that you're going to be practicing moving forward. So it starts with eating well. The second process is moving well. In order for you to really embody and master this physiology of this body of yours, remembering that all your chakra energy centers and your central nervous system evolves around the spine. A healthy spine is a healthy life. I can't tell you how many times I've had people in their teens come in and have an assessment with me in clinic, and I've done x-rays and they've got a spine of a 50-year-old because of the amount of sitting that they're doing. Seriously, what kind of practice around movement will you be dedicating yourself to doing? Once a day, once every other day, once a week, once a month, something, maybe once a month is not enough, let's be honest. What kind of practice of movement, yoga, qigong, tai chi, whatever kind of physical practice you will dedicate yourself to, that'll give you the invigoration of expression of gratitude and the opportunity to celebrate that you have a body that allows you to do what it still can do. But don't let your shoulds become must. Now we are practicing masterful movement, okay? And the third one, we get into the second chakra. In regards to the second chakra, the principles here are really the mind and emotional state. That's the principles that we're going to practice. The second chakra is the Swadhisthana. It's creativity, sensuality, sexuality, freedom, flow, and fun, blocked by guilt. So how can you get yourself out of the guilt? Firstly, I'd like you to think about when you're going to be doing the next Quantum Living Advanced, because there's more guilt, there's more fear, there's more shame, and there's always another level of ascension, and there's more love. Is there more love? Is there more love? Yes, there is. There is always more love. So think about what practices you need to have for your mind and emotional state. Let me give you a hack. One of them, a very powerful one that doesn't cost you a cent, is called a gratitude journal. If you don't cultivate gratitude every day for the things that you've been blessed, your life is going to fill up with those things you don't feel grateful for. Bottom line. So can you practice gratitude? Can you put your hands on your heart before you fall asleep every day and literally just say 10 things you're wholeheartedly grateful for? Of course we can. My question to you is, how are you going to do that though? This is really an important aspect to understand. That mind and emotional state comes back to this. The gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. So if we truly want to master this thing called, living an incredible life, then we must practice gratitude. What about the emotions? We understand the emotions are there. I'd say to you that for those of you interested, I'd do an emotional journal if I was you. I would write down the number one prominent and dominant emotion, the primary emotion that you've felt every day over 7 days. Then summarize it, and that's your perceived quality of life. When I did that years ago, frustration was my number one. And this was probably 7-8 years ago. Frustration was my number one. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Frustration? I was like, no. I am not living. I'm getting by. This is not on. So that's why I disappeared into the jungle in Peru and found myself again. And the finding myself was really simple. It was going on a journey from the head to the heart. Bottom line. Christina, I know you're excited. We're going to have a talk about Vanuatu for sure. And the retreat's coming up. That's going to be so amazing. So the bottom line is you must practice gratitude. Otherwise, it fills up with the things that you're not grateful for as an expression of the source consciousness giving you back the things that you don't want, because that's what you're sending out to the field. You guys with me? So we must practice gratitude. The second thing, as I said, is just to get clear on what you want to do with your life and what your emotions really are. Doing an emotional journal is really, really powerful, because the quality of our life is a quality of our most prominent and dominant emotion. And emotion is energy in motion. Unless it's stuck, then it's an issue in the tissue or issues in the tissues. This is why we do QLA over and over again, to ascend our awareness faster and faster. And as I said to the graduates just recently, 76 beautiful people, I said, the more we ascend our awareness, the more we raise the vibration, the more the brain waves go into a state of gamma. And you know, the gamma, if you don't know the brain waves, you want to research the brain waves. One of the highest, the highest as far as research shows so far, brain waves is a gamma. Okay, that means that the brain is vibrating, oscillating at such a high frequency that it's as closely related, as closely congruent, as closely specifically identical to the quantum field as what we can research so far anyway, which means that when you are meditating and when you're in a state of gamma, you're actually fully congruent to the field of which you are one with source consciousness. So when you recognize that these emotions lower your frequency, you know, we look at love, the frequency on Dr. Hawkins did this Hawkins scale of consciousness, as I mentioned before, and I mention it again because it's so powerful. You know, love vibrates at 528 hertz. Measurable, oscillates at 528 hertz. You know, guilt is 30. Shame is 20. We're basically dead when we're feeling shame on that scale. Fear is at 100. You know, grief is at 75. And so if we don't do these practices over and over again, we just literally lower our vibration. So it's about coming back and understanding those emotions and how can we feel those emotions and what we want that emotion to be. It should be nothing but thank you, I love you. When you're vibrating at the energy frequency of the heart from a place of thank you, I love you, gratitude is your expression, and you have so much to be grateful for because that's what you see all around you. Okay, the next practice is the practice of Manipura, the third energy center directly related to the area of life, as you know, called financial well-being. Wealth, from its Latin derivation, means well-being. So what kind of practices do we need in order to attract more money into our lives? Well, the first and fundamental principle is that money goes from where it's depreciated to where it's appreciated. That's right. So if we don't have self-confidence, if we don't have self-worth, if we don't have self-value, and that on an unconscious level, we will not be attracting financial abundance into our life because we're not feeling abundant and not appreciating ourselves. Now, this is an important topic then. So what I normally do in this, you know, for my Platinum Elite mentorship clients and you know, people that I help, is really just getting clear on where you're not feeling valuable. You know, for me, the greatest amount of value comes into the practice of serving people. You know, like we've graduated over 190 people in the last 3 weekends. And that's a lot of self-worth for me, you know, because I receive feedback from people like yourself and other students that just say, you know, you helped change our lives. Thank you so much. I love you so much. And the more I hear it, the more I can sit and really receive and sit in that wholehearted expression of gratitude. So for me, a lot of feeling good about myself is helping others, but there's also an aspect of, I call it, look yourself in the mirror and give yourself so many compliments that you actually blush. I think it's important to have some fun, be cheeky with it, right? We need to fall in love with our life again. Life is too freaking short not to fall in love with life again. But in terms of practicing self-worth, it's really just writing down what you like about yourself. In fact, what you love about yourself, not in an egoic way, but in a wholehearted spiritual way of understanding that the soul is the state of unconditional love. And if you are the soul, then you should be in a state of unconditional love with your own life. So maybe take a note on writing down the things that you don't love about your own life. You know, what you can let go of that's no longer serving you. Any lower vibration in terms of circumstances, situations, in terms of, you know, business partners and colleague and friends, and also sometimes family. As I always say, I love my family with all of my heart. I just don't want to spend too much time with them. Okay? Not all of them. Some of them I do. Some of them I don't. And I'm sure some of them don't want to spend too much time with me either, and that's just fine by me. So it comes down to self-worth and self-value. So write down the value that you have within, write down what you can do to serve others and the amount of power that you have when you are walking the path of service. The second thing is finances. Listen, if you're not saving, do you mind if I go out on the edge here for a second? Do you mind if I raise my voice just to imprint something into your nervous system? Thumbs up if you're good. Here it is. If you're not fucking saving money, then you're not valuing yourself. Every single person that values themselves saves their money. And if we have one stream of income and the average millionaire in Australia has six, then why would we not save money? And that one source of income dries up and now we freak out. Now we're in survival. Remember, modern slaves are not in chains. They are in debt. So when you're 16, 15, 17, 19 years old and someone goes, here's a credit card, go and have yourself a holiday, take your friends out for some cocktails, and you take that credit card, you're spending money that you don't have. Now someone's investing in you and you have to fight for that debt to get rid of that debt for a very long time. So people that are in debt, they spent money when they didn't have it. They took when they couldn't give. And there's nothing wrong with it. I've got 180K left or something like that of my debt, of the 3 degrees that I've got. And I'm very grateful that someone invested in me when I didn't have the financial capacity to do so. But the bottom line is that wealthy people, well-being people that have finances, they always invest in themselves. So here's the strategy. I call it grow fast. You can watch this later if you don't catch all of this right away, because we must get through all the 7 chakras here. Grow fast stands for generating a revenue of wealth through a forced accelerated savings technique. Generating a revenue of wealth through a forced accelerated savings technique. Without a doubt, if you read the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, you'll understand where this principle comes from, by George S. Clason, the incredible author. And he states that every person must save 10%. What percent? 10% minimum. Now, I save more than that. I'm on average of 25%. So let's say just hypothetically that you're receiving $1,000 into your account every single week. Then $100 must flow the same day or the next day into another bank account. Now listen, this is another bank account, not in the same bank, and you don't have it on NetBank. It's not something you can log into and transfer money over at any time. You need to actually go into the branch. It should be a high interest account if you want. Also good, maybe not to be with the top 4 banks. You know, those top 4 banks, that's really just not, I've heard the expression, if you want to rob a country, own a bank. I think it's good to try and stay away from the top 4s to really stop not just feeding Coles and Woolies, but feeding the little merchant that normally takes care of us quite well as well. It's just a thought. So move 10% minimum every single day. Autopilot, don't go and have to do it. It's automatically transferred. You schedule the transfer, and as soon as the money hits your account, it flows from that account into another account, which you can't see. And what you'll see is that unconsciously now you're aware that you're investing in yourself. Valuing yourself. Self-worth and self-value is growing. Now, what's the worst that can happen if you save? You go and get the money out and you put it wherever you need it. You can't fail. But wealthy people, well-being people, always value themselves and they always save their money. Now, something really powerful will happen over a period of time. It's called compounding. Now, it goes from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 and so on and so forth. Now, this becomes really powerful because now your money, your money is working for you and you are not working for the money. You have more money at the end of the month than month at the end of your money. And I'm bringing in the warrior energy because the warrior energy is the energy of the 3rd energy center, of standing in your power, of personal perseverance and persistence, and learning your own personal value. So you must save your money. Thumbs up if you understand and you're willing to action. Done. All right. 4th energy center. Yum. The beauty of the beating heart. The practice of the heart is really just love. The practice of the heart is really just understanding that what can I say? I think at this point, when it comes to love, I mean, it's love, it's healing, it's gratitude, it's compassion. And also some of my latest research has showed me that it has a lot to do with presence, with actually being in the moment. It's blocked by grief and sadness, as we know, and also very often leads to anger. So the bottom line here is for me, it's really just showing appreciation for our own lives. It's really just making sure that we follow through on whatever love means to us. The bottom line for me is that love is everything. You know, my philosophy is that love is the fundamental constituent of source consciousness. Love is really all there is. And if that's my belief and my philosophy, then that's what I'm going to see everywhere. And so when it comes to this, it's for me just important, you know, when it comes to how do you practice love, Well, are you just, miling out the pathways in my brain to ask the question, what if this asshole antagonist is actually an angel in disguise? How would love respond? Is there more love? Of course it is. I ask myself these questions all day, every day. And when something comes up, I stop, I pause, I breathe, and I'm conscious. And I ask myself the question, how would love respond? And if you ask yourself that question, you really can't stuff it up. You really can't fail in life if you live with an open heart. Now, let me just say this. Sometimes living with an open heart and practicing a life of unconditional love means more so than anything, love for yourself. Not because there's any more or less valuable, but because most of us don't have a practice of self-love. Most of us actually don't have a practice of acknowledging our own source consciousness in the state of unconditional love either way. So it's really just asking the question, how would love respond? And it's engaging in relationships. Listen, relationships. The area of your heart, the fourth chakra, anahata, is directly related to your relationships. So how can you engage in your relationships? You might want to take a note on this. I've heard, and I agree, that relationships are assignments to learn to love more. Sometimes they're soul contracts coming back to teach us a karmic lesson. And even though none of those are true, my friends, if they weren't, we can still understand that we can respond with love. So love more in your relationships, and part of that relationship for you perhaps might be love yourself out of a relationship. If there's no how can I serve relationship, if there's no part of the relationship that is how can I serve, if there's a part of the relationship that is I give you, therefore you give me, then you might want to exit that relationship. Because a relationship should not be a relationship. It should be how can I serve? Thank you so much. I love you so much. So practice those questions and practice more love in your relationship, particularly the relationship to yourself. 5, Vishuddha. How can we practice truth? How can we truly practice this thing called living, walking, and being our truth? I think one of the most important things to understand with practicing truth is that whatever you love to do the most, whatever you are most passionate about, whatever makes your heart sing, whatever is truly congruent to who you want to be and what you want to do, is truly the expression of your highest value, which is you. So when it comes to 5, which is directly related to the number one fear of common regrets of thousands of people on the deathbed, is living a life true to us. So what's the life true to you? What is it that you do that makes your heart sing? How can you take care of you first? How do you first? It's not getting up in the morning, taking care of your children and running around doing all these things. No, it's getting up in the morning before anyone else and everyone else is awakened, and you do you. There's no exceptions. Listen, if you're not taking care of you, you're going to lower your vibration. Would you agree? Hell yeah. Now, what are you doing to your children if they're taking on your lowered vibration? That's why to parents, I always say, children don't do what you say, they do what you do. They become who you are and your energetic vibration. So if you want to fucking help your kids, you want to help the people that you love, take care of yourself first. You do yourself first. And once you've done yourself first, then you can take care of everyone else. So what is taking care of ourselves first? Well, it's because before we build this weekly calendar, this stepping stones to greatness, which we are building now all the way up to 5 out of 7 chakras already. It's a matter of taking care of ourselves first. Walking our truth, speaking our truth. Listen, if you're not speaking your truth, identify where you're not speaking your truth, where you're holding back, where you're not speaking up. If you're not speaking up, it's going to bioaccumulate around the throat area. Your metabolism very often be shot. And after a while, you get sick because you haven't spoken up. So right now, identify where you're not speaking up and fucking speak up. Speak up with certainty, with boundaries, and with unconditional love. 6, indigo. 6, seeing things the way they actually are. 3rd eye, intuition, insight, and inner wisdom. Where are you practicing stillness? Where are you practicing silence? Where are you turning off the busy mind to get clear on the messages coming through for you from source? How often are you practicing seeing things the way they actually are? How often are you practicing knowing who you really are? I think the number one key to this is really just to practice over and over again. Listen to, feed your brain with the things that help you see who you really are. A spirit and a soul. See this universe for what it really is, magic and not matter, and see everything around you as you. Know that when the third eye, or shall I say the first eye, opens, you begin to see things the way they really are. So here are the practices, the physical practices proven to open up the third eye pineal. Now the pineal gland has little crystals on the outside of it, and those little calcite crystals, let me say it again, crystals. The third eye pineal has crystals on the outside of it. They're called calcite crystals. They're also known in neurology as stacked, as in they're stacked next to each other, stacked rhombohedrons. Now, when you ascend your awareness and you do quantum living practices regularly, and you bring that energy, attention and intention with your breath to your pineal, it secretes melatonin. It also secretes and fires up a whole other cocktail of beautiful feeling hormones that brings you one with the field, makes you one with source consciousness. Here are the practices. Yoga, primarily inversion postures where your head is below the heart and you're moving fresh oxygenated blood to your third eye pineal, which will awaken your intuition and inner wisdom. It's yoga inversion postures. It's Qigong and Tai Chi. Qigong and Tai Chi. It's meditation and breath work, because where energy goes, energy flows, energy grows. Note that in Quantum Living Advanced, we do yoga. We do breath work. We do meditation. We're ticking many of these powerful boxes. It is also sun gazing. So in Australia, don't be staring at the sun in the middle of the day because Dr. Espen said, okay, that's not what I'm saying here. Now, I'm saying no fry your retina. I'm saying you sit and wait at 5:59 a.m. when the sun comes up at the moment, and you meditate from 5:40 and the sun comes up, you look into the sun. Now listen, none of us would have been on this call. None of our friends and family, loved ones, nothing on this earth would have been around or alive if the sun was gone. You get it? The sun is our source of life and source of light. Practice the sun, get sun on your body. And if you want to sun gaze in the morning, do so for a shorter period of time, research it, know how it works, and you go deeper and deeper. It directly secretes melatonin from the third eye pineal, awakening your third eye, and also has been proven, if you go deep enough, to secrete a DMT, dimethyltryptamine. You know that mystical experience that you had when you did QLA, that final breathing exercise? That is because the brain secretes DMT. The third eye, the pineal, actually secretes dimethyltryptamine, also known as the spirit molecule. That's why you were able to look through the window into pure consciousness when you did that breathing exercise. And the more you can do, the more you come to QLA, the more you do that breathing exercise, the more the brain gets into a state of gamma, the more the brain secretes DMT, the more awakened your brain physiology and brain chemistry and brain frequency comes close to the field. So the more you practice, the more conscious you are over and over again. So very powerful. The final and most important thing is the everyday practice. You don't want to drink tap water. Just fucking don't drink tap water. Don't give tap water to your kids. Fluoride is a sedative. What is it called? It's a sedative. Fluoride is a sedative. You don't want to sedate your kids and sedate their nervous system. Remember, our nervous system is our connection superhighway, our antenna to source. So when you're drinking tap water, you're sedating your antenna to consciousness. You're calcifying your pineal. There's calcium on the outside of your pineal acting as a helmet around your brain, so you can't actually connect to source. So get rid of your water filter. Get rid of your water. Get a clean water filter. Kangen water filters are amazing. There are many really good water filters out there. Get a good water filter. And then, of course, get rid of the herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, every chemical that you can from putting on your body and in your body. Go lean, green, clean, go organic, do the detox. Listen, you must, if you want to oscillate, if you want to have your body vibrate at high frequency, you must eat less calories and more nutrients for the absolute majority of us. Obviously, check with your doctor first if this is right. But what I'm saying is you should eat a whole bunch of more nutrients and less chemicals. So I would suggest now decide on how often you are going to do the 10-day detox by design. Reach out to your fellow students and dedicate yourself to that practice. And when you get into being able to do 2 days of water fasting without having a freak out, your body is going to vibrate at a much higher frequency than eating food, of which you're going to be closely related to the field and the expression of consciousness through physical form. Finally, and certainly not the least, we're talking about the crown chakra. Your crown is connection to source. Your crown is really the antenna to universe itself. And when you're practicing walking this path as an awakened being with your crown open, it's kind of like a 1,000-petal lotus just blooming with divine purple light. For most of us, it's unfortunately blocked by the addiction to the senses and the addiction to the three-dimensional world of materialism. So how do we really practice this? Well, obviously meditation and prayer and other practices are really, really important. But the number one practice for me is letting go of any and all earthly attachments. Letting go of the things that I think that I own, but in fact own me, because it occupies time and space in the mind. So anything in your house, anything in your sphere of awareness that you haven't used for 6 months, may I suggest you put it all in a box, put it all in a container, depending on how many things you own/own you, and you give it to someone that actually needs it. You actually declutter your brain by decluttering your house, and you give away all of those things that you own to someone that actually needs it. And guess what? The byproduct of you doing so, and you haven't used it for 6 months, so let's be honest, you don't need it anyway. The byproduct of doing so is walking the path of service. It's practicing the contribution concept, which is one of the highest levels of consciousness, you see? So it's really important just to declutter your brain by decluttering your house and the things that own you, and practicing spirituality regularly. You know, finding meditation sessions, going to weekly meditations, hanging out with spiritual people, doing spiritual practices. And one thing I didn't mention before, which I'm somewhat careful of mentioning because, you know, as I said, this is a recorded session and I'm not recommending this as a primary healthcare physician. I've got to be somewhat aware of what the guidelines are and accordingly. But plant medicine is the final thing that's been proven to significantly secrete DMT. It contains DMT. And so plant medicine is medicine such as those practiced in South America and other places, which also I have had some quite incredible experiences with, overseas, of course, legal. So that's where I found a lot of my answers. But you're not going to go out and find medicine. If plant medicine is for you, then it'll find you when you're ready. And that's one of the key principles for me to really understand what source consciousness is. And, you know, breath work, you know, if you really want to open up the crown, meditate, sit still, receive the signals, ask the field what it's trying to tell you and receive. Sit with the practice, connect to source, feel this scalp just gently lift, and know that, you know, through walking the path of service and being a soulpreneur, really, if without the sounding like coming across trying to sell you something, one of the best fucking ways you can open up your crown is to come to the retreat in Bali. Because when you can create a soulpreneurship, when you can create a life that's created by a design of your highest value, but you don't need external motivation as a push because you're in spirit, you're inspired. People ask me all the time, how do you have energy to you know, deliver 4 events a week, be on planes twice a week, and that's 4 times back and forth, and have a family, you know, own clinics and have this insane energy? Well, of course, there's a lot of practices that we've talked about today. I just showed you my fridge as an example, but it's because I'm in spirit. I'm just incredibly inspired because I'm walking the path. I'm actually doing what my soul came in to do. I found it. And so I don't need motivation. No one's going to tell me in the morning to research, write, travel, and speak. No one's going to tell me in the morning to talk about consciousness. No one's going to tell me in the morning to practice opening the heart or to go to the beach and play with my son. I do those things because I love those things. So when you come to the retreat, we'll unpack your purpose and go from source to service. The bottom line is that you'll be able to live a life in spirit. So you're going to open up your crown and become a soulpreneur, which means really giving back Honestly, give me a show of hands. Raise your hand if and only if you really feel that you'd like to contribute to your life and other people's life as well while you're on this earth. Everyone wants to do that, right? And why do we only have one stream of income? I think it's silly. I think it's crazy. The more resources we have, the more we can be resourceful with, the more we can love and serve and heal and help. So for me, being a soulpreneur and giving back is the number one thing. If my crown is open, if I'm connecting to source and I'm walking the path of service and I'm in spirit, the blockage of the crown chakra is the addiction to the senses and the three-dimensional world. And there's the disconnect between my physical body and my energy body. It's a disconnect, it's a block, but that blockage is removed when I'm in spirit. You get it? In spirit, by living a life inspired. And when I'm living a life inspired, and the byproduct of my inspiration is people's awakening and health and living an incredible life and getting rid of the lower vibrational, the issues in the tissues to ascend, to help themselves heal and to walk this path as an enlightened being to serve others, I'm a soulpreneur. I'm just so grateful for that. So if you really want to open up one of the highest energy centers, or by far, as far as I know, out of the 7, the highest energy center, I would say Bali is a good option to learn how to create more love and service in your life and in other people's lives as well. So there you have it, my friends. Your homework's going to be this. Give me a thumbs up if you're willing to do some homework. Yes? Nice work. Here it is. I'd like you to choose. You can choose as many as you like, but I'd like you to at least choose one practice out of the 7 different practices that I've given you now. When you train and coach with one of my quantum coaches, they will build in these practices into your life with such imprint into the nervous system and such habits of repetition that you will unconsciously, competently be able to practice these without needing to think. For now, we have to do some of this work ourselves. So what I'm going to get you to do is to choose one principle out of each of the 7 chakra energy centers that you're going to be practicing every day moving forward, every week moving forward, every month moving forward, whatever it is for you, however deep you want to go, however much results you want to get. And then I'd like you to make sure that you see that through and listen, build it into your calendar. Build it into your calendar. So if it's yoga, for example, well, then you look up the yoga classes in your area and then put that yoga in the morning or in the afternoon and have no questions asked. Do it either way. Just do it anyway, no matter what. And do yourself first. So maybe it's getting up in the morning to go for a walk or stretch, listen to some inspirational stuff on YouTube, to meditate, to sit still on the beach, whatever it is, you do you first. Once you've built you into your calendar, then you build your business and your life around it. And some people say, hey, Dr. Espen, I've got a 9 to 5. Well, great. So work around the structure. Do yourself first. Once you've done yourself, then you build in anything and everything else. Now, the byproduct of this conversation today can really become, if you see it through, one of 2 things. One, if you see it through, it can be a life by design of your own spiritual creation, of your path of each step being closer to your awakening. Or 2, a waste of fucking time because you didn't do anything. So as I say, it's the blue pill or it's the red pill. Raise your hand if you want to take the red pill and actually start walking the path. Good. Now I'm seeing some commitment. Now that's the bottom line. I really want to acknowledge you and tell you how much I love you and how proud I am of you, not because you've just done this work for you, but because you have awakened into a new higher level of yourself, deeper, more profound states of love and gratitude. And as you walk this path with that heightened state of awareness, as an awakened being of more love in your heart, you really ripple that into eternity. You share that into every person that you meet. And I'm honored and humbled to be able to walk this path with you. So I really hope that you have a chance to come to QLA soon. If you have any questions about the retreat, just comment on the post below and reach out to our team. You can call 1-3000 58587. This is a good number for you to keep in mind anyway. This is for anyone that is part of our VIP family, which means that you've done QLA and up. It's 1-3000 58587, or if you will, 1-3000 level up. Cool number, hey. I love you. Thank you. I will post this back into the Facebook group as soon as the download and upload has completed, and you'll have a chance to comment and ask questions. Looking forward to your comments in the Quantum Living Advanced Graduates Facebook group so that I can see that you follow through, or which parts of this process you have decided to follow through on, at least for the next 12 weeks. Namaste. The goodness in me sees the goodness in you. I love you so much. You're absolute legends. Let's go.